Bill here. Welcome to Devil's Playthings, where we explore a vast spectrum of interests, hobbies, and collections. Everybody has heard the term quality over quantity, which is sound advice. However, my personality has always been one to choose to have many at once over one that's better, at least in terms of collecting. I would always want a few action figures over one playset, or many replicas over one original. This may be because I'm a visual person, and I like to surround myself with multiple things to look at. Or perhaps it's based on income, as I just can't afford many high-quality items. It's most likely just the way that I'm wired, because if I could afford the high qualities, it would still be in multiples. If there's one surefire way to hook me in after you've already caught my attention, it's variations on a theme. After all, what's better than something you already can't get enough of? More of it, but different. Today I would like to profile a collection that I have had varying levels of obsession with throughout most of my life. The world of ancient Chinese martial arts weapons. These were handheld combat implements that were created in many styles and sizes, with unique purposes, movements, and specific fighting ranges. I will always be under the impression that I was born in the right time period in which to grow up, where innovation and creativity seemed uninhibited and ripe with uniqueness. This was especially true of entertainment and pop culture. Many things that never existed before came into being and would withstand longevity, becoming beloved, now iconic, fashions, toys, cartoons, movies, TV shows, music genres, actors, musicians, breakfast cereals, candies, games, activities, and on and on. This names only a few examples, and each have large stories of their own. This doesn't even include the strides in technology, science, and innovation. One thing that didn't exist as we know it, that I feel especially privileged to have been privy to, was the introduction of Asian martial arts into the Western world. Before the very late 1960s, martial arts in the United States was a minority interest, mostly held by soldiers that learned a system while they were stationed overseas. In the early 70s, martial arts started to infiltrate American television and cinema, leaving a large imprint on the culture. It's no secret that actor Bruce Lee was the phenomenon behind its introduction to the American masses, first introducing his unique skills as Kato in the television series The Green Hornet in 1966. This was followed by a handful of dubbed Hong Kong films that escalated the popularity. Then in 1973, Enter the Dragon was released in the US, and it was highly successful. This, paired with a critically acclaimed 1972 television series starring David Carradine called Kung Fu, started a craze that would snowball its way into the future.
As quickly as you can, snatch the pebble from my hand.
With the unprecedented popularity of the television series Kung Fu and the cult-like mania of Bruce Lee, the word Kung Fu quickly became a household name. As the 70s progressed, many imported martial arts films known as Kung Fu flicks would play in matinees and on late-night and afternoon television slots. These would develop a cult following of their own, ensuring that there would be a minor martial arts character in everything from James Bond to Happy Days. In America, the popularity of martial arts directly correlates with its popularity in cinema. As to where Bruce Lee inspired Chinese martial arts enthusiasm in the late 60s and early 70s, American actor Chuck Norris would do the same, inspiring Japanese martial arts enthusiasm in the late 70s and early 80s, thus making karate a household name. This cycle would also directly affect participation in martial arts instruction. An example being the 1984 classic The Karate Kid, starring Pat Morita. Being charming and memorable, it inspired many people to take up karate classes for themselves.
Sweep the leg.
Karate and Kung Fu would take a back seat for a while, as the beginning of the 1980s would unleash another Japanese art on the West, the art of the ninja, and the impact was incredible. Probably most notably introduced in the 1980 television miniseries Shogun, ninjas captivated and infiltrated the very culture itself. Movies like Revenge of the Ninja and American Ninja aided in catapulting the fixation into ninja-specific television series, movies, books, magazines, toys, and comics. Ninja uniforms and weapons were heavily consumed for novelty, and the very word became pop culture slang to describe somebody that has special skills. Then, being outlandishly popular, the 1984 introduction of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics, later followed by a cartoon series and a toy line, solidified that this wasn't just a fad, and it would remain relevant for generations to come. I really can't recall my first introduction to the martial arts, so I must have been a very small child. It obviously struck a chord that resonated with me deeply, as it has become a lifelong love affair. It wasn't just about fighting for me. The actions, movements, mechanics, agility, forms, variations, aesthetics, and the attire. I loved it all, including the ethics, philosophies, and the mystique. I was enamored. The limited access I had to it all, I absorbed like a sponge. When I was in elementary school, I was less excited about Kung Fu, although I believe some of my life philosophies were subconsciously exposed to me during the television series. For whatever reason, I was attracted to karate, and as much as I wanted to attend classes, my family just couldn't afford it, so it wasn't an option. However, me and some other kids in the neighborhood had grandiose plans of being adolescent karate street crime vigilantes, a la the Guardian Angels. At this young age, I realized I had a bit of a natural ability. I wanted a pair of nunchaku really badly, but my mother was adamantly opposed. So I found some axe handles and I nailed a chain between them. I kept them hidden in my toy box and would get them out and mimic the movements that I saw on television, at which I was surprisingly smooth. In my middle school era, a new kid on the block came along and knocked me off my feet. Ninjutsu. It took the country by storm and I was infatuated. Karate classes were still unaffordable, but I would occasionally get a throwing star or two, which were outrageously popular at the time, and it meant the world to me. I also got a couple of ninja books and an occasional magazine from time to time. These would become my middle school Bibles, as I just knew I was going to graduate high school, go to Japan, and train to be a ninja. Every kid in the neighborhood had ninja suits, and my mother was kind enough to sew one together for me. So we had this ninja clan, and we would run around this apartment complex, masks and all, climbing trees, throwing stars, wrestling in the grass, and blinding each other with baby powder. We hid from random people in the shadows and in trees as they walked under us. We were literally having fun and were not up to no good. Could you imagine this now? Multiple black-clad preteens, running, hiding, sneaking, some with real swords on our back, and pockets full of stars, chucks, knives, and chains. Ah, the 80s. When I set off on my own after high school, I decided I could finally pay for my own karate classes. I signed up for an Okinawan style of karate do known as Shotokan. I practiced this on and off at different intensities for over a decade. I of course had an affinity for the weapons, which you could count on one hand, and I became proficient with the sai, my favorite of the style. In the 90s, martial arts popularity waned, and the introduction of actors like Jackie Chan and Steven Seagal kept the flame lit, but mostly with fans of the genre. The year 2000 would see a resurgence with the imported release of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, a highly stylized artisan martial arts epic that captured the attention of a very wide audience, changing the way fight scenes would be filmed in America from that point on. Others like it, Hero and House of Flying Daggers, furthered the interest. While Jackie Chan charmed his way into American hearts with his comedy stunt stylings, and Quentin Tarantino sealed the deal with his stylized homage Kill Bill, it's safe to say that Asian martial arts are now an ingrained part of American culture as well. I was enamored with martial arts weapons from day one. They were so unique and artistically different, with specific uses and applications. It was my favorite part of the old movies, and I was sure to note what they were. I would draw the ones I saw advertised in magazines. One of the biggest appeals of ninjas was the vast supply of weapons and tools. I fixated on this as a kid. Then, way late in life, a new obsession came along: Shaolin Kung Fu. I was familiar with it, mostly from old movies that didn't really present it in an appealing way. In 2002, a troupe of Shaolin fighting monks were assembled to be part of a traveling art stage show called Wheel of Life. I saw the DVD of this production, and it was masterful. I always heard about how special these guys were, but I had no idea the extent.
These are the famous Shaolin Temple monks. They pursue spiritual peace through mastery of bare-fisted murder.
I've heard of these guys. You can wave your arms at them and make funny faces, and they just have to stand there and take it.
Homer, no, stop. You're thinking of Buckingham Palace.
What? I hope you washed your hands first.
My only regret being, I saw an ad for this show in my town, and I assumed that it was just going to be a lame Taekwondo-like demonstration, and I didn't go. I became absorbed with it. After all, the weapon selection was vast, and every Asian martial art as we know it began with the Shaolin Temple, dating back as far as 477 AD.
done.